I think one of the most exciting reading experiences that you can have is being wonderfully and pleasantly surprised by something that you honestly expected to hate, or if hate's too strong a word, strongly dislike. So I have two books today that the first one I didn't really know much about, and then I found out later that the author had written kind of a teen romance type book, and I know that it's not really for me. And then the second one is by an author that I've featured on here before, and I know she generally also writes more romantic type books, so I thought I would hate this one, and it turns out these are probably some of my favorite books that I've read this year. So, never say never, right? So the first book is extremely powerful, and it's called The Walled City by Ryan Graudin. It's like that. And at first I thought that maybe this was a dystopian or a science fiction novel or even a fantasy, but it's actually realism. And the thing that makes it so striking is the setting. It is set in a version of Kowloon City, which was actually a walled city in China. It was outside of Hong Kong. And there's actually pictures in the back of the book. This is where people lived, just building up and up where you didn't even have sunlight on the bottom. And once you get in, you don't really get out. And this was a real thing, so that was what kind of blew my mind. But it's the story of three people. Dai, who is a rich boy trying to atone for his past. Jin, who is a young girl disguised as a boy looking for her sister who was sold into prostitution. And Maggie, who is Jin's sister, now kept in a brothel. And her attempts to escape and maybe even find love, but not from the man who visits her regularly. And it's, I mean, there's chase scenes and all sorts of double crossing and things like that. And sometimes I found myself thinking, you know, this couldn't actually happen, and I'm sure much worse happened. So it's a fantastic book. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. And I found myself actually kind of pacing myself because I didn't want it to end, so that one was great. And the other one is Illusions of Fate by Kiersten White. Now, she partnered with Jim DeBartolo to do In the Shadows, which was kind of a hybrid graphic novel slash regular novel, and I think I talked about that in here before, but she generally writes more of a romancy type thing, and if I had just read the back, it looks very paranormal romancy, and I'm not into that. But this book is hysterical. It is so funny. White's strength as a writer is her humor and the repartee between her characters, because it's fantastic. It's like Jane Austen meets, I don't know, it's very Jane Austen-esque, let's just say. And what I also really liked about this is the main character is a person of color, and she's dealing with discrimination and the fact that the people where she's now living are basically the rulers, unwanted rulers of her home nation. So it is about fate, but it's also about the choices that you make yourself. And she chooses to fall in love with someone, and it's not insta-love, which is the bane of my existence in literature. So it's a very smart, very funny, very fun book to read. So those are my two surprises of late, and I hope that one of you is surprised by them as well.